All right, it's Dr. Kevin. We're going to wait for a couple of people to get on. Today is MaxImmunity. How virus proof are you? The reason why I wanted to do tonight's little webinar or live is I've been getting a lot of questions from people just in writing, reading newsletters, and just kind of seeing what people are reacting to all during this this kind of weird time in our life. And I think a lot of people are getting kind of frustrated with staying home all the time. And so, and I completely understand that this has been a difficult time for a lot of people. We've never had to deal with something like this or having stringent things placed on us and kind of being asked to do something to stay away from people, to stay inside. So I know this is a little bit difficult for everyone. So when I talk about MaxImmunity, there's a couple of things that I want to cover tonight. And number one, that is what makes someone a carrier or not a carrier, or why do some people kind of have these overwhelming symptoms that we've been talking about, like coughing, sneezing, the aches, those sorts of things. So I want to talk and then how can someone be a carrier where their body dealt with an infection but never really had any symptoms. And then the second part of this is really going to be about how do you know if there's things that are interfering with your immune system. So there are some things neurologically that affect your immune system. There are things nutritionally that affect your immune system. And this whole thing where we think that our bodies can't build health, they're supposed to. And the thing that I can tell you is anyone who goes to the gym and goes to the gym consistently enough and challenges their body and their muscles, they're going to see changes in their muscles. They're going to go from not being as fit to being more fit, or sometimes people say they'll go from having more weight to having less weight because your body actually went through something. And every part of our body, there's some sort of process that it has to go through in order for healing to happen. In order for a cut to heal on your arm, there is a process that it has to go to. Your cut doesn't heal instantaneously. It takes several days to a couple of weeks, depending on how severe the cut is. And so when we have problems inside of ourselves with our immune system, sometimes for us to get through something takes more time. But in this day and age, when we want everything right now, we want it to be fixed right now, it's just not really the way that our body is designed. So I want people to understand, number one, you were not weak. You were not created weak. Your body is completely capable and designed with several different systems in order to interact with the environment. We've been interacting with viruses and bacteria for since humans walked the earth, and it is designed. We have lots of different white blood cells. Those are the specific cells inside of our bodies that actually are designed to kind of work and travel throughout our body, looking in the bloodstream, in between our cells, in our digestive system, in our lungs. We even have some immune cells in our spinal column or around our nerve system. And they're there to protect us when they recognize something that's not supposed to be there, or a foreign object, or a foreign bacteria, or something that poses danger. Then their job is to react like an army and begin to set off this cascade of events inside of our bodies that are going to help our body fight off this infection. Now, when we were younger, putting things in our mouth, the things that we're exposed to on our hands and how we're putting them inside of us, our number one defense is our digestive system. Your stomach produces very toxic or very stringent acids that help break things down in our stomach and our digestive system, as they're broken down into smaller proteins and they enter into our bloodstream or our lymphatic system where our white blood cells are. Now our white blood cells can kind of encode them and figure out what they are, and then they build antibodies, and then antibodies then get stuck on these cells to kind of mark them so that the white blood cells know which cells to attack and kill and which ones to not. But there's a couple of things. There's two very important things when we talk about an infection, and number one is you want to have a very strong microbiome or a biome inside of your gut. If you've taken a lot of antibiotics or you've been sick a lot, you really have to take some things to help get it back to normal. There's some very good probiotics that you can take. That's like the really new big buzzword now. But I want you to know we're supposed to have like hundreds, if not thousands, of different species. So taking something with 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 is very hard. Plus, we need to take a lot if you've been on antibiotics. I used to be on a lot of antibiotics as a kid, as I was very sick. But one of the things is that I have in my notes here that I just want to share with you is your lymphatic system. Your lymphatic system is kind of the area where, when an infection or cells have been kind of targeted, they move into the lymphatic system. The reason why the body moves infections into the lymphatic system is because that's where lots of other white blood cells are, and they can gobble them up and get rid of them. Plus, the lymphatic system is the way that is like the exhaust system in our bodies that gets rid of waste. So when your lymphatic system is congested, meaning your body is dumping a lot of waste, if the things we're putting in our mouth, if they're toxic, or we're not eating really high quality foods, or there's toxic things in the food like pesticides, herbicides, different preservatives, your body has to dump them as they circulate around our body, and it's going to do that in the lymphatic system, but your lymphatic system has to guide it through it. Now, if it's an infection, which we're usually battling infections quite often, we just don't always have symptoms. But if we're battling quite a few things, those lymph nodes, which can get very sore, like underneath your chin when you have strep throat or something like that, you can, or an infection in your throat, you can feel your lymphatics or your tonsils or lymphatics, part of your lymphatic system, specifically lymph nodes, as well as you have a lot in your neck, down your spine, into your hips and your joints. And so typically if you have like the flu or some type of infection, your body's going to produce, or the immune system's going to produce things like histamines or cytokines, and those are the reasons why we get achy in our joints. So that's another reason to know if you have an infection. So the lymphatic system, as it backs up, your white blood cell is kind of fighting it off, and if more is being dumped in because the infection is in some other tissues in the body and it's dumping it in, the lymph nodes are very small, and so it has to keep dumping them, and it has to keep moving to eventually there's these two little spots in our body right here where all the lymphatic system dumps into our bloodstream once everything has kind of been neutralized and safe. So once it enters into our venous system, then the venous system can dump it in to where it needs to, whether that's through the kidneys or the liver or into the digestive tract to be eliminated from the body to get rid of it. So that brings me down to the second thing, which is if your liver is congested or your kidneys are congested, they're not working properly, we can find backup, and so the fluid's not moving. The other thing is if you're not regularly exercising, that can cause your lymphatic system to be very stagnant, because the muscles around the lymphatic system is helping pump that. So vigorous movement is really good for pumping fluids out. That's why you'll see people that have a lot of edema in the legs, is their body is holding on to a lot of this lymphatic toxic stuff, and it's spilling back into the tissues, and it's it has no place to go because it's so overwhelmed. And so once you decrease the overwhelm, or you start moving, or what we're going to talk about in a little bit, is once we decrease the amount of toxins going in the body. And if you understand that this is your body and this is a cup, your body can handle so much, but what's going in has to be less or the same as what's going out. So we can say food, toxins, okay, bacteria, and viruses, okay? If those are going in, depending on how much is going in and what you're doing, it depends on where this water level is. When the water level gets up here and it starts to spill out, that's when we get into this thing of when you have an infection and now your body has to do everything it can to keep other things from coming in. So we have to breathe air every day. We have to eat things. So when you have things like the sniffles, when you're starting to cough and it's settling in your chest, really what's happened is all those areas to get things out is your body has no place to put them. And so when we start to cough, really, that is when it's dangerous and we're spreading things in the air, or when we're touching our nose on our hands and our eyes, is because we need to recognize that our body is under a lot of stress and there's no place to put this infection. So the body's doing everything it can, and it's asking the secondary immune system to start to actually help itself, because we have to protect things from going inside of our bodies anymore. So our immune system, our liver, the areas that are full can do their job. And that is the reason why someone can have an infection and never have symptoms. And I want people to understand, you want to have your cup or your lymphatic system not working very hard or having a lot in it. That's by eating clean, not taking a lot of medications, eating very organic foods. Those things don't put a lot of pressure on our lymphatic system because we're not dumping a lot of toxins. If we come in contact with viruses and bacteria, it has a place to go. So the best way that we can keep from spreading anything is actually taking care of ourselves and taking responsibility for our health, so that we can kind of internalize it. As we internalize it, our body builds that natural immune system to it, and we can then have lifelong immunity to a virus or a bacterial infection. But again, it starts with making sure that what's inside of you, that you're clean inside and there's places to put things. When it doesn't, that's when we get the sneezes, the sniffles, the congestion. It's not because you typically have an infection. If you're getting an infection in your sinuses and other places, it's just, it's hard, and that's why you want to sleep and rest. Your fever goes up is because your body is mounting a very heavy attack and it needs help. So now, once we kind of clear that out, the best way that we can clear it out is anything in our body takes nutrients, and nutrients. So the food that we eat is not just to satisfy our taste buds. Really, the food that we eat and the things that we put inside of us are going to be the building blocks for our immune system. So, and how healthy our tissue cells are. And so I wanted to kind of cover these things, like what sort of things can we consume and take that are going to help with strengthening our immune system, to make sure that our immune system is healthy and robust, but it also has enough of the nutrients in reserves to make new white blood cells, to make new tissue cells. And so the first thing is B vitamins. B vitamins are very essential for just cellular processes in general. We need them. They're water soluble, so if you take a lot of them, unfortunately you pee them out. So we don't store B vitamins, so we need to be consuming them a lot. The other one is vitamin D. Vitamin D is a pro-hormone, but literally it's used to make hormones, which is part of our immune system. But it also helps activate certain white blood cells. So we know that the higher level of vitamin D you have, the stronger your immune system is And that's been proven, and especially in lung conditions, vitamin D is very, very, very efficient. When we're supposed to get vitamin D from the sun on our skin, but like tonight in Colorado, we're supposed to get some cold weather or snow. It's very hard to expose a lot of our skin to the sun. Plus, most of us have to work inside. But I noticed now that during this time, more people have been out enjoying the sun, so we're getting more of that. But really, if you have a deficit, you need to take more, and that's where a supplement comes into play. And you want to make sure it has something with K2 or probiotics. Probiotics, the bacteria in your gut, help make vitamin K2, which is essential for us to activate vitamin D. Now, one very, very effective thing that we've seen in the news is this thing with zinc and the antiviral. And something very interesting about zinc with viral infections is zinc actually helps block replicase, which replicase is an enzyme that a virus injects into or implants into our DNA and causes it to start replicating itself. And as it does that, it changes the cell and what it does, and the cell starts to die. That's why we're getting, sometimes you get that scar tissue in the lungs with coronavirus. But zinc helps block that replicase. It gets in the cell and it blocks that. So it's very, 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 very important to have higher levels of zinc. And so where should we get these things? Is we shouldn't be getting them with supplements. We should be getting them in our food supply. So fresh, healthy fruits and vegetables, the very bright colored ones, the dark green vegetables are going to have the most B vitamins. They're going to have vitamin C, which is another good one I forgot to mention, and zinc, plus tons of other vitamins and nutrients that we can talk about. Nature gave us everything that we need, and it's in the plants and the food. Unfortunately, if we're living in an environment where our food comes in packages and in bags and boxes, all the nutrients are stripped away from it. In fact, a lot of other chemicals that are toxic and poisonous to us are placed in here. And so I bought this hamburger in 2005, and it has not decayed. It's just dehydrated. We shouldn't be eating this stuff, and I know it's cheap, but it's definitely not good for our bodies. And now the other thing that I wanted to talk about was mushrooms. Mushrooms are amazing for our immune system, and there's very specific ones. Mushrooms have vitamin B, they have B vitamins in them, they have vitamin D, they have selenium, they have niacin, they have high doses of this polysaccharide. It's just a really a name for a strain of different starches, and it's called beta glucans, and this is very good for our immune system. And you want to write these down, or you want to get to know these. But shiitake mushrooms, chaga, reishi, turkey tail, lion's mane, maitake, and cordyceps. These are all great for our immune system. The problem with taking mushrooms is you need, especially to get nutrients like vitamin D, you need to eat pounds and pounds of mushrooms. Some people don't like mushrooms, so it's hard to get. I personally have a powder of all these different mushrooms in it that I've been consuming daily and that I give to my family. But one of them that I want to highlight is called cordyceps, because cordyceps, the beta glucans and some of the constituents in it is very good at interrupting RNA synthesis of viruses, and especially in a viral infection. So when you have these things in your body, they're actually going to work for you, because your body doesn't want a virus or a bacteria to grow. It's going to do everything it can to control it and contain it. But one of the things that I've noticed that we've used in our office are these food sensitivity tests. And what most people don't understand is not all foods are healthy for our bodies. In fact, before I started doing this, I would tell people to start eating certain nutrients like kale or garlic or turmeric is an anti-inflammatory. But I come to find out when I started foods and when I started testing people, is they were actually very sensitive. And when you talk about sensitivity, this is just stimulating the immune system. So you can be eating certain foods that when you put inside your mouth actually cause an immune reaction. And that's not good if you want to be fighting a virus, because if you're consuming something on a daily basis because you think it's good or you heard it's good for you, but inside of your body reacts and reacts negatively to it, it's going to try and fight it off. And so it will cause your cup to be not as empty and be more full. And so then you're more prone to having infections. So having a test like this is absolutely vital, so that you know what foods are good for you and that you can put in, and which foods to stay away from, because no two people are the same. Everyone is different. And so your body has different requirements than my body does when it comes to the nutrients. And the things that I put inside of my body, I want to make sure that I'm helping my body and I'm allowing it to be strong and healthy. I don't want to put stuff inside of my body that are going to be taking it away. And so having something like this is extremely valuable. And it goes through anything in your environmental toxins, so things that you're breathing. So, it can be different grasses and trees. It can be cats and dogs, even manufacturing products or stuff coming from the exhaust out of cars people are reacting to. And you want to know, because when we get to the foods, this is what you can control. You really can't control what's out in the air unless what's in your house. Okay, and so it'll go through. It goes through the meats. It goes through vegetables. It goes through fruits. It also goes through dairy, certain types of dairy products. So whether it's butter or milk or different types of milk, different types of cheeses, your body is going to react to them differently. It also does carbohydrates like your rices, grains, like wheat or barley or millet, corn. Those sorts of things are in the carbohydrates. Then you have seafoods. There's some people that just react differently to seafood. And this is not your allergic reaction. So this is not causing, this is different. This is a different part of your immune system. It's not causing your throat to swell or for you to get hives. This is more like the long-going inflammatory response, which causes achy joints or that tiredness and fatigue. You just don't feel like like you have energy after it. Hi, Leslie. Now, it also goes over drinks. It'll tell you nuts if you're allergic to nuts or sensitive to nuts, different seasonings, and then it goes through the additives. And the additives are typically the things that are in the processed foods that you don't know about. Colorings, preservatives, different types of cooking oil. So it's extremely beneficial for this. And you know what? The cool thing is we actually can do this in Canada. Jen, I just see that you're from Canada. This is something that we totally can do. All we need to do is send you a little slip. We can send it to you, and you just put your hair in it, and then we send it off to the lab, and then I get the results, and then I can Skype or FaceTime you the results so that we can go over it and we can see what's going on. The other cool thing about this is that it will tell you with this test is how much, and this tests like 750 different things that we come in contact with, and so you'll know exactly what you need. Now, one of the other things is it's going to test your heavy metals and your minerals, so you can tell if you have metal toxicity like aluminum, lead, mercury, uranium. Those are the things that we're looking at. And then after that, it's going to tell you your nutrient profile. So based on what you have inside of your body, it's actually going to tell you which nutrients you're deficient in and which nutrients you're getting a lot of. Because if you're deficient in nutrients, then your body can't really be complete and do what it needs. It's telling us that it needs more. And then the other cool thing it does is it actually makes up a program for you based on all the food sensitivities and gives you an actual recommendation to help you. And no person is the same. So it'll actually tell you which supplements or food products are the best for you, and it's going to give it to you in the top of the form is the most beneficial to the bottom, and I just usually put in the top 5 because I don't want people to be overwhelmed. And usually with the top, hi Jen, the top, the top 2 to 3 are typically help the most amount of people. And so I've really enjoyed this. I hope it made sense. If you guys have any questions, just comment wherever you're seeing this, and we'll get back to you if we need to private message you. But the big thing I want people to know is your body is completely 100% capable of dealing with infections. And the last thing about your immune system, it is under complete control of your nerve system. Your nerve system, or your brain, which is up here, communicates and is what allows your immune system to respond and react very quickly. But it's also the thing that beats your heart, breathes your lung, digests your stomach. And so we can have minor shifts in our spine, and those minor shifts then can start to interfere with the communication between the brain and the body. And when you have interference in that communication, then your body doesn't respond properly. So we see amazing changes when we start to take pressure off of the nerve system through very specific scientific chiropractic adjustments, where we can figure out and use tools or our hands very specifically to take pressure off the nerve system, and we reestablish this connection with the body, and amazing results happen. But the amazing results happen because people have been to a lot of other places. They've started taking a lot of supplements and they're not getting better. But sometimes it's just because your brain and your body are not connected. They're not talking properly. And the symptoms that we have, the colds, the flus, the allergies, the pains, the joints, the aches, the tiredness, fatigue, sometimes that is just your body trying to tell you, I'm not working properly, and I need help. And it's one of the best things that you can do. So if you guys have any questions, please comment down below. We're gonna stop this and we'll come back to it at another time. But one of the things that I want to know from you is what did you get from it? Because if you don't kind of explain or talk about what you got from something, then it's hard for you to internalize. And then number 2 is, what's something that you want to know more about? What needs some more clarification? Are there more nutrients that you want to learn? Is there certain parts of the spine that you want to learn? Do you want to learn more about how to decrease the congestion in your lymphatic system or your liver? How do you do that? We love giving information out there, but the best thing that I can tell you is that you are not broken. Your body is completely 100% able to fight off infections. It's designed to do this. You are not weak. You are actually strong. And the fact that the wisdom and intelligence that created you from 2 cells is the same wisdom and intelligence that is running and controlling your body, and it's doing a great job because it put your eyes where your eyes are, it put your ears where your ears needed to be, gave you 2 hands and 2 arms, some of us, it put your heart and your lungs in the right place. By the way, the cost of that test is only $100, and that includes the consult with me to go over the results. So the cool thing, so one of the other questions is how does the hair test work? Well, if you understand, if I take blood, if I do a food sensitivity from your blood, it's basically testing what food sensitivities you have at that moment, and what's going on in your blood is changing very rapidly. And if you understand that your hair is like a thumb drive, and if I plug a thumb drive into my computer and I keep saving, it's saving information. And so your hair is saving information over time. And so when we test it, we can actually test what's been happening over a long period of time and have a better idea of the needs of your body, rather than just saying, what does it need right now? Because what it needs right now might not be what it needs tomorrow. And so when we understand it over a long period of time, it's just a better way of addressing a food sensitivity and something where somebody has issues and really they're kind of confused. So I've been really happy with it. I've spent almost, I think, 9 months helping develop this and putting this together and really helping lots and lots of people. And we've just seen amazing, amazing results in people with allergies and asthma, people who get constant flus and colds. You know, they just don't have that anymore. And so we just want to offer, and we want to be a resource to people, and we want to be hope dealers, not fear mongers. So we want to instill hope in people. I hope you've had a good evening. I've enjoyed this, and I look forward to another one. I look forward to your comments. Have a blessed night.